Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's winter. It's actually snowing and it's freezing cold.
I haven't interviewed you before. I was hoping you could indulge me with a few introductory questions which go way back. Who did you grow up listening to?
I grew up listening. I have a 3-year-old brother, and yeah, it was though that 80s hard rock. Well, first off, it was my dad had this tape machine. I don't know what it's called. It's with manual tapes going like this. The not the cassette. And he had a lot of 60s music and 50s music, rock and roll music. And then when I grew up, we listened to hard rock. So I think it was Wasp, Kiss, uh, Mötley Crüe. I remember going to the record store when we bought our first. We bought "Shout at the Devil" with Mötley Crüe, and we thought of the artwork. When they opened it up and they were standing there in fire, and was like the most amazing thing. I knew it was the best record ever before I even heard it.
Yeah, and you thought, I'm going to do that.
No, not really. I've never thought that I was going to do that. I'm grew up on the countryside. I'm from an island in the lake. It's like living 1,000 people here. So, working in the music business was like, it was no way that's going to happen. That happens to other people in big cities, not for me.
So how did it happen?
I think it's just I never had a big plan. I was a motocross driver back then. Motocross was my big thing. And then and I was playing guitar as well all the time because I was really into music. I listened to a lot of music and played a lot of guitar. But when I was 18, I broke my foot really bad, so the whole season was ruined. I couldn't drive because I was in plaster for like 8 weeks, and then recovery after that. So then it was just the only thing I could do was play guitar, and that's kind of flipped the whole interest. So I kind of motocross, got behind, and music went ahead. And I started music schools, and I met up with Magnus, the guitar player, when I was 20, and yeah, we formed ECLIPSE, and that's how it happened. Well, if that wouldn't have happened, maybe we wouldn't talk today. So
yeah, I was about to say, a lot of fans are really happy that you had that unfortunate incident.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, your latest release, Why? How different is it from previous ones? Because we're talking, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. Was there a big difference in how it was made and lyrically, what it was about?
Not really. I think we were having there was no problems in the world when we wrote Paradigm. So I think that was more of a darker, more moody record than when we were sitting at home and during the pandemic. I think we wrote a party album because we were so tired of nothing happening. So we wanted to write something uplifting and something like the pre-party album when you're at a party when the COVID pandemic finally was over. And it really paid off because those songs work really well live, because we played a lot of shows last year. Well, probably one of the most hectic years for ECLIPSE ever, and it's been a lot of fun playing those new songs. We did a festival. I think the first gig we did after the pandemic was in a festival in Belgium, Alcatraz Festival. It's a pretty big one, and somehow they were the only one who didn't cancel, and they was just hoping things would. So I think it was in August 21, so they could actually do the festival, which felt almost unreal when we came there. It's like people are actually standing together having fun, because we haven't seen that in last 1.5, 2 years almost. So it was super scary to go to play live again after such a long time away from the stage. It's like, do I still remember how to do it? When we ran out on stage for the first song, it was like, yeah, I know this. I've done this before, and I was just smiling the whole gig.
Down to Australia, we're excited.
Yeah, super excited. Except for a super long flight, that's not going to be that exciting. We have some. Well, let's if we have gin and tonics the whole way, maybe it will be more fun.
You came just before 2019, was it?
I think it was 15. Some people say it's 16, but something like that. We were in Melbourne. We just did one show in Melbourne. We stayed for a week, just hanging out, and went to all these small bars and breweries and swimming in the ocean, and had a good time.
Fantastic. Is there anything in particular you remember about Melbourne?
It was extremely friendly. I really liked the atmosphere. The people were so friendly. As I said it in the interviews before, but it's like Australia is like very familiar because it kind of looks like Europe, but it's very different in another way. It's much more relaxed, more, everyone is super friendly, and I really, really enjoyed it. This was one of the best places I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of different places throughout the years.
Fantastic. And this time it's different because you're going to be touring with a few other bands.
Yep.
How are you feeling about GLAM Fest?
Well, to be honest, I haven't seen a single band before. I've never seen like Faster Pussycat, Tough, or Enough's Enough. I've never seen them live, ever. I've never met any one of them. So it's going to be the first time. Wednesday 13, I've never seen it either. So and those bands, when I was a kid, not Wednesday 13 is a newer band, but the older bands, I've never listened to them when I was a kid, because back then you only have the vinyls or the cassettes that your friends had. That was the only music you knew, because the world was small, especially when you lived on the countryside. So no one had those records, and I never stumbled upon them later in life either. Well, I might have an Enough's Enough record. I think I have their debut album on vinyl. When I was a kid, there was this 80s rock, but when I was still really young when like Nirvana came out, and for me that was just hard rock. I could listen to Wasp, and then I put on a Nirvana record. For me, it was just rock music. I didn't care much about styles because I was too young to understand what was hip or not. But I really loved Nirvana, and I learned all the songs on guitar, and just as much I could still listen to Mötley Crüe and enjoy it just as much, because a lot of people are so like, I have to like exactly like this, and if you go one step outside, it's just, I hate it. It's like I don't care. It's like, it's just good and bad music. And I had my phases of like listen to black metal, death metal, thrash metal. There was years when I only listened to thrash metal. And then when you grow up, you have all these phases of music.
Yeah.
There's so much good music.
Who do you think influenced you as well as hard rock?
A friend of mine borrowed a Kiss record, Asylum, and when I got it back, he had scratched it, so one of the side was like completely, ruined. Couldn't listen to it. So as I returned it to him, like, you got to give me another record back because you destroyed my record. Yeah. And he probably took a record from his dad, and he gave me a Flick of the Switch with AC/DC. And I hadn't listened to AC/DC much before, so that was my first AC/DC record. So I put it on the vinyl player, and I was like, wow. And I could hear that was the first time I could actually hear the guitar. I was so young, so I hadn't really, like, for me it was just music or sound coming out of speakers. I couldn't identify like the instruments for real, but I was like, I want to play guitar. So I think Flick of the Switch is what made me pick up the guitar and start playing music.
Yeah. Have you done any AC/DC covers?
Well, it's my favorite band. I consider them the best band ever, and I'm still on YouTube watching. People are adding more and more songs from old concerts. It's coming up more. So I've seen them live several times, and I have a big collection. Yeah.
Have you ever met them?
No, never.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. No, it will not happen. Yeah. I even have a AC/DC Monopoly here in the studio beside me. The people who did that Monopoly don't know AC/DC very well. It's a crap Monopoly. Yeah. It's not made by fans for fans, for sure. Yeah. It's made by someone who, like someone Googling some facts on Wikipedia. It's terrible. Yeah. Well, I don't get rap music at all. I get it why people like it, but for me it's like, it's called music, but for me it's not much music in it. I'm very much into melodies. For me, it's like, I like classical music a lot. I think Bach is the greatest composer ever to have lived in this earth. And everything, when it comes to rap music, there's nothing of that in it. It's like, there's no melodies, there's nothing. But a lot of people get annoyed by listening to like classical music because it's too much to handle. So they, instead of, I think it's easy to understand rap because it's just words and rhythm.
Yeah. You've actually incorporated some classical in some of the songs that you've done for Wired.
Yeah. We had some Beethoven, Ode to Joy, I think we added to.
Yeah.
It was just a fun thing we did when we did like the pre-production.
Yeah.
And it was like, it fitted perfectly, and we just started laughing, and we, if we laughed at it, someone else will. So it was,
I love
we just
it.
left it.
It's really good. It really suits it.
Yeah, it's just fitted there perfectly somehow, and it was just a joke that ended up on the record.
I love it. I'm glad you kept it in.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Me too.
If you had to describe ECLIPSE in terms of a food, what food would it be?
Oh, never heard that question before. Well, we are on a Italian label, so I guess it has to be Italian food then. Well, it's I think it's Italian food, maybe because it's we don't like to have too many ingredients. Better to have a few with high quality and don't mix them up too much. I think so. I think that's ECLIPSE.
With GLAM Fest, are you going to watch the other bands?
Absolutely looking forward to that. Always with playing gigs, it's about, especially these gigs, as we are flying every day, and we have to go to bed, and then we have to fly at like 6 o'clock in the morning. We have to be like at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning at the airports, which mean no sleep. So it kind of depends on if we can get any sleep, and it's also this preparing, getting focused before the gig, and so I will probably see more of the bands after our show than before our show.
Yeah.
But I'll make sure I see every band, of course.
Yeah. And plus you've got it's a 2 p.m. start, and you've got a VIP party beforehand, and it's huge.
Yeah. It's a lot of things happening.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I think that's the worst thing about touring. It's sleep. Especially when you have this, when you fly all the time, you get so tired, and after a few days, you get worn out. It's like if you have two nights with like 2 hours of sleep each night, then you're starting to it wears you down very fast. Yeah. So when you have that's the worst thing about touring. You're constantly tired, which it sounds boring, but everyone is walking around like zombies.
It must be, and it's a lot different because you're flying such a long way. Are you playing the night we land, or you've got a day off at least?
No, we have a day off.
Oh, good.
In Brisbane, yeah, and we actually sleeping one night in Bali because there's only flights that were, so we come to Bali, and then we stay at the airport hotel, which seemed very, very nice. So I think we're going to survive that as well. So I think it's going to be good. But like these 35 hours flights, it's no fun. You've done everything. You had a party, you read a book, you watched 5 movies, and there's still like 15 hours to go.
And you can't sleep. I don't know about you, but I can't sleep on planes.
No, it's if you don't go first class, but we can't really afford it.
I'm going to leave you with one last question. What is your scene?
Yeah, my scene is in music, of course, because that's what I live and breathe music. I have my studio, I mix records, but besides that, I enjoy it's my hanging out with the family, which is the best thing ever, and skiing. Now this time of year, not for you, but for me, it's like downhill skiing. We're going to go to the Alps. I love off-piste skiing, and so that's my scene.
I will let you go, and thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you at GLAM Fest.
See you on Invasion Day then. Well, have a great night, I guess, and I have a great lunch.
Enjoy. Thanks so much.
See you in Melbourne.
Bye.
Bye.